You want to talk Spider-Man? Then let's talk Spider-Man. So here's what happened. I decided to make a YouTube channel, made one, posted my first video, and started thinking about my next ideas. After a year, some ideas came naturally, some had to come through the list. But throughout 2021, we all knew there was a Spider-Man movie coming out, and we all had a pretty good idea of what kind of movie it was going to be. Like, we didn't know, but we knew. And as the card-carrying naysayer in the room, I had a whole plan to make a video to perfectly line up with that. Actually make the algorithm happy for once. No. April 2021, the finale of Invincible airs, and I can't stop thinking about it. I spent the next several months working out how that series made me feel and why I loved it so much, and putting those feelings into a form fit for YouTube. Check out the previous video to hear more on that. Please. May of 2021, I get my job back, so my time to write and record and edit these things is cut to a third of what it was, maybe. I finally get the Invincible video out, and whoops, it's November. If I want to talk about Spider-Man, I've got to get to work stat. Yeah, I didn't do that. I was exhausted, things were falling apart, and work was entering its busiest period since I'd been back, so the idea of having the energy to crank out another one of these things in less than 2 months was, at best, a fantasy. Plus, you never know when or if one of these things could suddenly go viral, and I didn't need 12 angry fanatics on Twitter shouting at me about how wrong I am, because it's Toby and Andrew and Daredevil, and because reasons and multiverse crossovers are the coolest thing ever, man!
Your boos mean nothing, I've seen what makes you cheer!
So here we are. The new Spider-Man movie is out, everybody saw it at least once, it made $1 billion in about a week, and it is damn near everything I was hoping it wouldn't be, and the parts that aren't are somehow worse than I envisioned. May as well get this part out of the way. I'm happy you all enjoyed the movie. I'm not here to tell anyone they're wrong for liking it. If you found staggering empathy in Peter Parker or his villain stories here, even better. I'm not here to condescend or to tout my comic book knowledge at you. I'm not here to take cheap shots at a second and a half of obvious green screen or anything else. I'm just interested in good stories. I'm here to ask the questions I think need to be asked and interrogate the movie on what it leaves obscure. If you disagree, cool. Tell me about it below. Maybe help boost the channel's visibility. Look guys, the movie is fine. I had a fun enough time with it, and there were a handful of moments I genuinely loved. I don't hate this movie, and I have the Letterboxd review here to prove it. But like, really? I don't want to step on anyone's passion or enjoyment because, frankly, we need more of that in the world. But I feel there's a lot that Spider-Man No Way Home puts out there that maybe we shouldn't let it get away with that easily. Alright, let's back up again.
Alright, let's do this one last time.
So here's what this video was going to look like before I saw the movie. Hot on the rumors that ended up being the worst kept secret in Hollywood of what No Way Home would eventually be, I wanted to look at what that sort of crossover would look like in the context of both Tom Holland's Peter Parker character arc and the existence of the Spider-Man films collectively. I wanted to look at that arc critically, what the movies have told us is important in Peter's development, and in particular his relationship with Tony Stark. Most importantly, I wanted to put it out in the world that making Tom Holland's third outing a multiversal crossover was a terrible, terrible idea. Don't believe me? Watch. Spider-Man Homecoming. Peter's hang-up, the thing that the movie tells us is keeping him from truly being Spider-Man, is that Peter cannot live up to Tony's expectations. He wants to be a hero and an Avenger to impress his idol and de facto mentor. That's why he goes out being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. By the end of the movie, he resolves that he can't live up to those expectations. That being a hero means caring about the little guy more than being a big shot. Hang up, resolved. Peter just learned how to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home. Post-Endgame, post-Iron Man, post-Blip, Peter's hang-up has shifted from living up to Tony's expectations to living up to Tony's memory. It becomes clear in the second installment that this series is about Peter growing up and growing past his mentors. By the end of the movie, Happy spells out for him that he can't live up to Tony's memory because Tony couldn't even live up to Tony's memory. That our heroes are not infallible and everyone is flying by the seat of their pants with no idea what to do and desperately hoping no one can tell. Peter can't even access his spider sense because he gets too in his own head about his abilities and failures. Only after he stops trying to be the world's next Iron Man and starts trying to be his Spider-Man can he unlock that spider sense and feel comfortable in his own skin. Only after that can he finally be Spider-Man. So we have this beautiful 3-act structure that these movies execute to the tune of $2.5 billion of Peter failing to live up to Tony's expectations, then Tony's memory, that everyone can see the next logical step is Peter graduating high school, entering adulthood, and facing the demons of his city and himself as his own man, his own Spider-Man. And I was psyched to see that. I was more than psyched. I fully bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Why didn't I want Tobey and Andrew in this movie? Because you're taking this kid who you've made this character emerging from the shadows of his mentor, and then sticking him right back in those shadows of not one, but 2 Spider-Men who have been at this longer, have more experience, have more wisdom and more pain than Tom Holland could even imagine, and remind us consciously or not that he's not the best to do this and he's probably not even ready for it. Because it pushes him back into this regressive state of having someone to live up to before the movie inevitably has to find another half-hearted way to watch him grow beyond it in a way that can textually justify but never make feel earned. Because you're sacrificing your story, sacrificing your integrity for clicks and tweets and hype and spectacle and novelty. And no one can convince me that this was John Watts and his small army of writers' plan for this character before Into the Spider-Verse broke our brains and opened a whole new galaxy of possibilities of what audiences are and are not willing to accept in their comic book movies. Was I right? Kinda. But also no. Look, these movies are fine and I'm glad people enjoy them. I just wish I was one of them. They're competently made with great performances and wonderfully creative set pieces, and they're full to the brim with lovable, endearing characters. But Peter Parker isn't one of them. And if you follow me down the rabbit hole into some real self-important, galaxy-brain, detail-oriented mathematics of a comic book character, I'll tell you why JJ was right.
Who is Spider-Man? He's a criminal, a vigilante, a public menace.
Spider-Man is a high school student gifted or chosen with incredible powers which, when combined with his intellect and technical proficiency, make him capable of incredible feats of superhuman ability which Peter feels honor/duty/guilt-bound to use to protect the people of New York. Say it with me now.
With great power comes great responsibility.
All 3 Peters, but especially Tom Holland, are children in a situation way over their heads that they never asked for. Peter navigates the gauntlet of both adolescence and discovering the man he hopes to become, while at the same time needing to already be that man every time he dons his Spider-Man persona. He also has to balance the life he wants to have with the one he feels obligated to pursue, and protect each one from becoming entrenched in the other. That disparity and inner conflict are what makes him so relatable, so enjoyable, and so beloved more than possibly any other hero in history. And millions of fans, and even Stan Lee, agree that Tom Holland is the best actor to portray that ever, period. And guys, I hate him. For years my mantra was Tom Holland is the best actor playing the worst version of Spider-Man, but honestly after this performance, I'm not sure that even applies anymore. I'm not just a contrarian. I just spent way too long thinking about this movie and this character until I finally cracked the secret, the magical concoction of ambition and myopia of how they did this character a massive disservice and retroactively botched him from the very start. I should mention that this has nothing to do with Tom Holland's talents as an actor or his performance in his Spider-Man appearances. I think he's a terrific actor, but the writing for Peter for Sony has been mishandled from day one. I'm just going to keep referring to the Peter I so strongly dislike as Tom Holland for the sake of clarity, because, you know, multiverse.
Now you got it. Okay, Peter 1, Peter 2. Peter 2. Peter 3. Peter 3. All right, let's do this. Ready?
Anyway, the essence of Spider-Man as we all know him is crystallized in that one line we all know with maybe the greatest line reading of all time. Let's hear it again.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, great words, Ben, but what do they mean? Over the last 20 years, we've heard this same philosophy echoed in a lot of different ways. Some are better than others.
He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
Yeah, yikes. But strip away the golden prose comic book writing vernacular, and what Ben is essentially telling Peter, what echoes through his mind in every swing he takes as Spider-Man and every punch he throws, is the certainty that his inaction carries blame as much as his action has consequences. That a person has to use their power, their gifts, not for themselves, but for the good of others. That the choice to act, to interfere, to get involved, carries as much effect as the choice not to. This is the notion that gets every superhero up in the morning, from Peter Parker to Tony Stark to Steve Rogers to Bruce Wayne to Clark Kent. That irresistible urge, that essence of being a hero, is the knowledge, the absolute certainty at the center of the logo emblazoned on their chest that the circumstances would be irrefutably worse, if not unwinnable, without them. That to stand by and do nothing is to let the bad guys win, let innocent people get hurt, and to get involved is to actively prevent it because they know they can prevent it. That when there's evil to be stopped, they have to put their lives on the line and take action because they can't not take action, but also because they know that taking action will turn the tide of battle, will make things better, will help the good guys win. It's as calculated as it is selfless, and it's earned through rigorous training or studying or tempering like a steel blade. It is an unshakable part of their resolve, and it makes them who they are. That's what Spider-Man is. That's what Batman is. Iron Man, Thor, Superman, Ant-Man. You get the idea. It's what drives Toby, and in a legally distinct way, it's what drives Andrew too. That's what makes them both Spider-Man, and it's what makes them Peter Parker. But it's not what drives Tom Holland.
What if somebody had died tonight? Different story, right? Because that's on you. And if you died, I feel like that's on me.
This...
When you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
is not the same as this.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And it took until No Way Home for that to manifest. Both Uncle Ben's iterations boil down to your actions have consequences, inaction has guilt. It's not just a theme, it's an entire moral philosophy that's punctuated and written in blood across every other Spider-Man's chest. Peter flexed that power and lost sight of the responsibility for an instant of impulsivity, and he lost a father. So he vows never again, and that sticks to him for the rest of his and Spider-Man's life. That no matter how many people he saves, or how famous and beloved Spider-Man becomes, it will never go to his head because he always carries the guilt of the one person he didn't. But what Tom Holland's moral philosophy breaks down into only ever gets to inaction bears culpability. And I am not overthinking this. It is literally the text of No Way Home, so shut it. Tom Holland has no Uncle Ben, and it's never implied that he ever did. He has no great trauma, no loss, no pain, no guilt to underline his conviction, to remind him of the double-edged sword his powers are, and to balance out his immaturity with that magical catch-all responsibility.
Okay, Spider-Man! Don't flip! Yeah!
Even though Andrew initially operates based on revenge rather than guilt before gradually understanding the city needs a protector more than he needs his vengeance, he still experiences the all-important loss of normalcy that shapes his entire worldview as a superhero. Tom Holland doesn't. Not until this exact moment. So when Peter first puts on that dorky sweatsuit and secretly gallivants across the streets of Queens being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, all that is a stupid kid who thinks he's invincible, doing what he can to help because he thinks he has to. But what you're telling me with this is that this kid has no cognizance, no awareness, no wherewithal to understand the very basic fact that his actions have consequences before he goes out to be a superhero in a world that already has too many superheroes to count, and I'm supposed to like him for that?
Not a great plan.
That he thinks he's the only one who can help and the crisis would be demonstrably worse without him, yet he's completely oblivious to the fact that his powers, his intellect, his resourcefulness, his savviness can do just as much damage as they can, and the movies make sure that they do, as they can repair? That through Civil War and Homecoming and Infinity War and Endgame and Far From Home, he never once understands his powers are a double-edged sword that have the potential to make everything so much worse? Peter clearly has no idea what he's doing, and he makes it up as he goes along, and every split-second decision he makes hangs people's lives and safety in the balance. Half of the moral burden of being a superhero is completely alien to him. No, wait, it's more than alien to him, because this Peter has fought an alien. But no, forget all that. Because he's our protagonist, because he's a child, because he's learning, because Tony's not a good mentor, suddenly this doesn't matter. He gets a pass. The blame falls to someone else, it all gets yada yada away. The people he actively and passively puts in danger by being a so-called hero are less important than what Peter learns from it. Next time he'll be that proper Spider-Man, guys. Promise! Except for the Vulture in this one specific moment, this Peter Parker never saves anyone from any crisis that he has not directly caused. Washington Monument, Staten Island Ferry, Brad on the bus, this entire city of London, everybody on this bridge, Aunt May? Whoops, never mind. Every fuck-up so far is 100% his fault because he is not ready to be Spider-Man and the movie knows it. That is the text. It's the one thing that has stayed consistent throughout his trilogy. Every Spider-Man home movie starts and ends with the notion that Peter is being hung up from being the true and proper Spider-Man and the promise that he finally is. But through all that, No Way Home tells us that he never understands that actions have consequences and not for lack of trying. But he makes it through 5 movies alleging to be Spider-Man when he doesn't have that very basic understanding that every single other Avenger does. Okay, maybe not Star-Lord. At long last, I've figured out why it is that I've always found him infuriating. Why Tony was right when he took the suit away. Why this and this are the only parts of this series that I actually like. And you're telling me that at no point during any of these disasters that he causes is he even remotely aware that someone as powerful or inexperienced as him can be just as much of a hazard in a crisis as they can be a hero. Is that really who Spider-Man is? Is that who we want him to be? This is why I take issue with No Way Home's supposed Uncle Benning of Aunt May. Why this is not the powerful moment to me that it wants me to think it is. You're making May into this loss, this pain that haunts Spider-Man's every waking breath, into this trauma that finally and permanently imprints onto Peter the fact that his actions do indeed have consequences. But in doing so, you're acknowledging, you're outright conceding that he never realized it before and it's been missing from him all along.
Oh, Ned, you're alive!
Peter, are you okay?
Hey, Ned, where's the glowy thing? The glowy thing!
Don't worry, it's safe. It's in my backpack.
No, Ned, listen! No, Ned, the glowy thing is dangerous!
You missed the cap on.
Hey, Ned, listen to me!
We're the Washington Monument now. You gotta...
Peter, is that you?
Oh, hey, Liz!
That it truly takes this little dumbass losing an actual parent, not his suit, not a surrogate father, not even his own life, to understand and live and breathe and embody a lesson we teach to actual 6-year-olds, that through all of this, and this, and this, and this, and this, Peter never gets it through his head that with great power comes great responsibility, that his actions and his choices and successes and his failures and his brain and his heart have stakes and repercussions, and people can totally for real die until this moment. Yet he dares to call himself an Avenger. Not only that, the movie goes so far as to anoint him the greatest Spider-Man of them all, the one who succeeds where Tobey and Andrew failed. This Peter Parker is the one who was both smart and compassionate enough to save these villains rather than kill them and undo 5 respective movies' carefully considered, albeit faultily executed endings. It's as if Tobey and Andrew were just too cruel or too emotional or too stupid to even try to save these tragic figures when we know that they weren't. How can you be the best, the definitive Spider-Man, when you still haven't learned the lessons your superhero bestie squad and even your own multiversal variants did before you? How can you be the good guy of your story when you make life and death decisions for entire universes without fully reconciling with the weight and implications and consequences of those decisions? Why should I feel sorry for this kid when he loses? Why should I empathize with him when he actively disregards the counsel of those older and wiser and more aware than he is, like the rules don't apply? Why should I weep for the sudden and unexpected loss that thrust him into adulthood when it was brought about solely by his naivete and inexperience? It is his fault, and he knows it. Actions have consequences. But like clockwork, implied by the new suit, closer to its comic book counterpart than ever before, we are assured through the language of the film that this time it's the real one. Out with the boy, in with the man. Hang-ups have been resolved, growth achieved, Peter is finally ready to be the one and only Spider-Man. Right?
Not in that onesie, you're not.
Do we believe that? Or I'll put it a different way. How can we believe that when this movie ends with Peter making the exact call that made him miserable and that he fully reversed on only 1 movie later? Am I really the only one who sees this? No. This Peter will never truly be Spider-Man. It would be too inconvenient for those handling his story to ever let him be. There will always be one more hill to climb, one more step he has to take, one more lesson to learn for as long as we keep making these Tom Holland movies. The Raimi and Webb movies had their flaws, but they at least let Peter emerge into some form of adulthood. They don't stunt his intellect and development, and they let him learn from his experiences and mistakes. They let him grow into a better hero than he was at the start and make New York City feel safer because he does.
Don't tell me to relax, Happy. How can I relax when I messed up so bad? I trusted Beck, right? I thought he was my friend, so I gave him the only thing that Mr. Stark left behind for me, and now he's gonna kill my friends in half of Europe, so please, do not tell me to relax.
Look, far be it from me to say what is or technically isn't Spider-Man, like I'm any kind of authority on the subject. I have no great nostalgic love for the character, I don't devote myself to the ideals, and I definitely don't read the comics. I watch the Spider-Man movies, and I play the Spider-Man games that interest me. I'm just here for great storytelling and compelling characters. That's all I ever want out of anything. But depending on how you interpret this quote, supposedly Tom Holland is the greatest Peter Parker as anointed by Stan Lee himself. Maybe that's just about his innate charisma and the endearing naivete he brings to the character, and he was appraised before any of the Homecoming trilogy was written and the larger picture of his character arc came into focus. I hope it is. Because if this kid, this actual child who still has so much to learn, whose only accomplishments through 3 different movies are undoing his own naive and immature mistakes, and who adopted the mantle of Spider-Man and the burden of being the protector of Manhattan, before fully reckoning with the fact that his actions have consequences, that with great power comes great responsibility, is the one true and proper Spider-Man of the comics brought to life as his creator would deem, then maybe Spider-Man stands for something a lot different than most of us believed he did. Hello! Yes, it is true. I have finally finished this video. Thank you to everyone who clicked on this. Thank you especially if you watched it all the way through to the end. Thank you for the likes, comments, subscriptions, anything else that YouTube wants me to remind you to do for some reason. And just a big, big thank you to everyone who watched the Invincible video and liked it and shared it. I was really, really happy with how that one came out, and I'm truly touched to hear how what I did there changed some people's understanding of that show that I really, really loved. The fact that it's my most popular video so far is just everything I could have hoped for, so thank you, and go watch that now if you haven't. Yes, it's been a while. Like I said, there was a time when I thought I could actually get this thing out in between the October where the Omni-Man video came out and the end of the year when Spider-Man was just dominating everything, especially YouTube. But things happen when you go from working 0 to 40 hours a week, especially when you get a new job, learn the ropes there, and just kind of try to function as a human being, whatever that is. I do want to keep making these. I do have some ideas that I'm still pitching around for movies and shows that I want to dive into and talk about. I just saw Blonde earlier this month, and my mind is racing with ideas and things that I want to talk about that movie. But I also have some other ideas I'm looking to explore on how I can perhaps express myself creatively in other ways and share my opinions and perspectives to anyone who's interested in hearing them. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, I'm not going to commit to any deadlines right now because when I'm not under any pressure but myself to complete things, I end up taking my time, and the next few months are looking very, very stressful for me. But if you are ever hoping that I happen to have something else in the works, you can take comfort in knowing that the answer to that is almost always going to be yes. Will that thing be out in less than a year? I really hope so. But we'll see what ends up happening, what life decides to do, and hope for the best, honestly. I will see you again whenever that may be. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful rest of your day.